The greatest day in racing is upon us.
From Monaco to Indy to Charlotte, we've got you covered.
And Erica will tell you where to put your money for all the action on Sunday.
Plus, the current Cup Series points leader takes on the double.
We've got all the At-Tractions as you head to Charlotte Motor Speedway.
All of this and more coming up next on Around the Track.
Thanks for joining us for Around the Track. Before we dive into the greatest weekend in racing, I'm Kim Coon, he's Ryan Flores, and we're talking wrap-ups from the All-Star race. I got to give you kudos. You picked Joey Logano as your outright winner.
Those guys, man, they got strong pit crew. I train with them every day, and Paul Wolf and Joey Logano, when you give them something new, they figure it out. So it was great to see them succeed.
Yeah, and we talked about beef last weekend, but I don't think it was the beef between the drivers we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't see that coming. We were parked the pit stall next to where Ricky Stenhouse stopped in the 8th pit box, and I thought it kind of had diffused, but after the race there was a line of people following Kyle Busch, and we saw what it turned into.
Yeah, and we're going to see if it rolls into this weekend as those two drivers take on the Coca-Cola 600, but we're getting you ready for everything around the track, whether you're there or watching from home.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Charlotte Motor Speedway schedule for the weekend. Doubleheader on Friday, the ARCA cars and the trucks are in action. Saturday we have Xfinity on track. It all leads us to the Coke 600 at 6 p.m. on Fox.
And before fans see their favorite drivers take the track on Sunday, there are a ton of fan experiences all week long. And this excites me because I felt like for a while teams were going kind of away from the fan days, but they are back in full force as we go through and look at all those. Just tons of opportunities for race fans to start the racing action early.
As a team guy, it's always super exciting this week having so many fans in and around the shop. The fan days are just super welcoming to everybody that wants to check everything out, and I love sharing my profession with the fans. Another thing that I'm going to love watching is Friday night under the lights. The ARCA cars go first, but the trucks are always super exciting. That Friday is going to be sweet, but Saturday.
Yeah, it sounds like you're circling Saturday.
Yeah,
Why?
Kyle Busch. Back in the Xfinity Series, but this time in an RCR car. I'm looking to see if he can dominate.
Yeah, and the thing I like about the Charlotte Xfinity broadcast is it's a driver-only broadcast, so they're having to do my job on pit road, which is a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, you get to critique them for once. Yeah, it's definitely not as easy. It's always really fun to watch, but there's, as always, Kim, there's a ton of stuff going on outside of Charlotte Motor Speedway. Let's take a look at what we've got going on. We got Autodrome Granby getting fired up for the first race of the season on Friday night at 7 p.m. on Flow. And the Cars Tour, man, the Cars Tour has been so exciting. They're Saturday at Tri-County Speedway.
Yeah, and then Sunday, you know it, the action is packed into that day, a full day. You've got Monaco Grand Prix. I love watching the Monaco Grand Prix and eating breakfast. That's kind of like my breakfast race. And then obviously the Indy 500. That's going to be my lunch race, although I'm there, so I'm actually partaking in all the activity from Indianapolis.
Yeah, there's nothing better than sitting on the couch, and I like drinking a cup of coffee, watching Monaco, and then Indy, it kind of starts, like I love just watching all of Indy, but it's tough because I have to go to the track when the garage opens, so I don't want to miss driver intros. It's just like they say, the greatest spectacle in racing, but it's cool because I'm at Penske, and we have kind of three dogs in the fight.
You guys swept the front row.
Yeah, and we all watch it on the big screen at the track, so it's just a super exciting day. And then, hey, that leads us to the Coke 600, one of our biggest races of the year.
Yeah, extra incentive for everybody at Charlotte Motor Speedway to watch the Indy 500. We're going to talk later about Kyle Larson doing the double, but he's also won the Coke 600. So let's take a look back at the last three winners in the Coca-Cola 600.
Kyle Larson trying for his first NASCAR win in a race longer than 400 miles. And he's going to pick NASCAR's longest night to do it. And they come to the line. Hamlin wins by 2 car lengths. What a race.
Hell yeah, Pete!
Turn number 4, the Coca-Cola 600 belongs to Ryan Blaney.
Ryan, you were in victory lane for the Coke 600 last year. What are the odds you guys go back-to-back?
We're going to try our best, but it all starts with practice and qualifying Saturday at 5 p.m. because you need a great pit stall to win this race. We did 10 pit stops last year, and that 24 team, man, they were tough to beat. They had the first pit stall, so we had to stay within ourselves. We did 10 stops within the 9-second bracket to propel ourselves to a win. And I won here in 2025,
with Brad
Keselowski. That one was a little different because it was during COVID and nobody was there. It was just literally the teams and the drivers, nobody in the grandstands.
Well, the grandstands are going to be full this weekend. You have to imagine the fans want to be there for the action after the great racing we've seen on mile and a half this season.
3 wide for the lead here in Atlanta, coming back to the start-finish line. Unbelievable 3 wide finish. Have you ever seen anything like that?
99, victory lane. Ah!
Scoring has the margin between the first 3 cars at 0.00 seconds.
How awesome was that?
Go!
Chris Buescher gives him room. We're going to drag race to the start-finish line. Here comes Truex. They bang sideways at the line. Photo finish.
Do we get it? Do we get it? I don't know.
It is so close.
That was incredible.
We won. They just said the 5 was the 1. Go!
Oh
It's
my
that
wow.
close. It's Larson.
Holy cow.
What a finish, boys.
Seriously, 0.0000.
We have seen so many amazing finishes this season. It is hard to imagine, though, that we'll get a side-by-side finish at the end of 600 miles.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if we did, and I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be a fuel mileage race. We haven't had a Coke 600 be a fuel mileage race in a long time, and there's some pretty historic ones. I mean, Casey Mears pulling an upset, Austin Dillon pulling an upset, and Dale Jr. coming to the line, running out of gas.
And then Kevin Harvick winning.
Kevin Harvick passing him. So I think this could be the weekend where we do get another 600-mile fuel mileage race.
Well, a side-by-side finish is dramatic, but a fuel mileage finish is also dramatic.
Absolutely, and one of the guys that we saw in that side-by-side finish, and somebody that's no stranger to victory lane, that's Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson has won some big races, and not always in a cup car. He's been successful in all forms of racing.
2 leaders clash together.
Oh
It's
my
that
wow.
close. It's Larson.
This whole race has been all Kyle Larson. You put that kid behind the wheel of a race car like this at Hendrick Motorsports, and he will get the job done. Old-fashioned butt whooping all day long.
Southern 500, baby. Hell yeah!
Larson's going to win!
Checker flag. Hell
What
yeah!
a finish by Kyle Larson!
Well, as we see, Kyle Larson is no stranger to victory lane, but he's new at this IndyCar stuff. He did go to Indy, qualified 5th. He ran the fastest lap a rookie's ever ran in qualifying, and you were there to see it.
Yeah, it was amazing just watching the crowd cheer when he came across the line. But he overcame adversity. He had a little issue during his first presentation in the initial qualifying, then came out, did a second one, was so consistent, and that's all that's about. Consistency for 4 laps makes the Fast 12, goes on to the Fast 6, will start 5th in the Indy 500, which is outstanding.
Yeah, it's all lining up for him. You know, these Indy races, you have to be in a Chevrolet. Years the Chevrolets are fast. It seems like it goes back and forth between Chevy and Indy, and he's got great people around him and great opportunity. Tony Kanaan's there. You see Jeff Gordon with him, and I'm just super excited. It's not often that you get a generational talent with a great team on the right year, so sky's the limit.
Yeah, Kyle Larson doing Kyle Larson things. He makes it look easy, but he does have a great team. Brian Campy also among the people helping him, and he actually used to work for Team Penske.
Yeah, Brian Campy, one of the competition directors now at Hendrick, but before he was there, he was an engineer at Penske and a 2-time Indy 500 champion, plus he's won a bunch of cup races. He's a racer, and he's somebody that you definitely want to have in your corner at Indianapolis.
And Kyle Larson has that. And he's actually looking to become only the 2nd driver to finish top 10 in both races. Tony Stewart, obviously the first to do that. So Kyle will complete those 500 miles, then he'll come to Charlotte for 600 miles of remembrance.
Charlotte Motor Speedway now joins a grateful nation on our most solemn holiday, Memorial Day.
Take a minute to take all this in. Remember how lucky we are to get to do this every week. Remember that a lot of people have sacrificed everything to give us this freedom. And to all the veterans and those that are serving today.
Get to do what we love because of the sacrifices that were made by our military heroes.
You know, this week is always a great opportunity for NASCAR and the teams to show support for the military, and we're going to see a lot of patriotic schemes, but the one thing that is so cool is that every single driver will run the name of a fallen soldier on their windshield.
Yeah, and a lot of times they give the team members, you know, if they had friends or family members that had passed away. I actually had a good friend of mine, Ron Kubik, back from Manaswan High School, who passed away in Afghanistan, on our car a couple years ago, and it was such an awesome experience to remember him and honor his family and have him to the track. And it's just something that I'll always cherish forever, and I know that it's really important. It adds a lot of weight to our shoulders too, because we want to do a good job for them and their family.
You mentioned the families, and NASCAR does such a good job of hosting the Gold Star families on race day morning. I'm actually kind of sad because I'm missing that to be in Indianapolis, but it is such an honor to be able to provide them with a great race day experience.
Yeah, and as a team member, the more that I do this race and the more I meet those families, the more weight it carries. What we do pre-race, what we do, in the national anthem. It's just this is second to none what Charlotte Motor Speedway puts on, Marcus Smith and everybody. We're going to have Danny Hamlin take us for a lap and tell us what it takes to win here at the 1.5 miles.
I manage races anyway, so I just manage that one a little bit longer for an extra 100 miles, but to me, I treat it very, very similarly. I mean, certainly it's a very valuable race when you look at how many points are paid. We've got that extra stage in there, so it's one that you want to qualify well. So we're going to probably put a lot of emphasis in making sure we qualify well to get ourselves up front and maintain that track position all day. But one of the biggest things we have, military members on our cars. You get to meet the family, understand their history, and so you're driving for a little bit more that day.
Extra distance, extra points on line. You're going to have extra focus to win this race.
Yeah, it is a demanding race on the equipment and on the drivers and teams. Physically demanding, but mentally demanding. I think back to 2022, if you remember, Kyle Larson had an awful first half of the race. I remember he got on the radio and he literally told Cliff, "This is the worst race of my life," and we're not even halfway. Cliff played cheerleader, rallied the troops, went on. They were battling for the win, got kind of caught up at the end there, but ultimately finished 9th. So it's about keeping your head in the game.
Yeah, Cliff broke it up into 2 different races, right? He said, look, we're 3 hours into this thing. We're 200 laps in. We're resetting at lap 200. He said they were the most penalized team on pit road. Kyle had made mistakes. Everybody had made mistakes, but that's how long this race is. You can cut it up into 2 different races. Forget about the first half, and when the sun goes down, if your car's right, you can march forward. That's something we've seen with the next gen car too. Is like you're never out of it. There's a quick car. You have to do at least 7 pit stops to finish the race. But last year, like I said, we did 10. You can do up to 12. There's going to be opportunities to gain track position, lose track position, and you just have to keep your nose to the grindstone all day.
And you have to be able to adjust your car to the changing track surface, because we start under the daylight, we end under the lights. It's going to be night, it's going to be cooler, so you have to have a car that has adjustability and can make that transition from day to night.
Yeah, and that means the guys that fire off good, may not be the guys that are fast when the sun goes down, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, you want to have the best car during stage 4. Remember, there's 4 stages in this race, but now that we've got you set up for all the racing action, we're going to check in with Erica to see where to put your money.
Join Todd Gordon and myself each week for NASCAR Inside the Race. We'll break down exactly how the race was won.
Plus, we'll dive into the data and go in depth on race strategies, penalties, and rule changes.
Catch NASCAR Inside the Race presented by Consumer Cellular each Tuesday on NASCAR's YouTube channel.
It's now time for Easy Money with E, where we welcome in Erica, our resident sports betting analyst. And I am so excited to talk to you about the Coca-Cola 600 because you killed it with your all-star bets last week.
Sometimes, Kim, it's very hard to be humble, and this is one of those instances because we hit it so big last week. We had 4 of our best bets to hit. We had 2 of our head-to-heads to hit. We had Logano to be the outright winner to cash in, and then Ty Gibbs to be the outright winner of the All-Star Open. Feeling myself, however, as the young kids say, sometimes those tables will turn, so celebrating the wins in a very humble way.
Okay, well, right now all I'm hearing is ching chang. So as we look at this weekend, it is the best weekend in motorsports, and not that fans need another reason to watch all the racing action on Sunday, but you're going to give them one because you've got some really good bets, and it starts with a parlay where we work in both F1, IndyCar, and NASCAR.
Yeah, Kim, we typically do a 2-leg parlay, but 3-leg parlay is where it's going to be this weekend. Starting with the Monaco Grand Prix with Max Verstappen's odds to have the fastest lap. Then second, our guy Kyle Larson to be a top 5 finisher in Indy 500. And then finally, William Byron in the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600 to be a top 3 finisher. Let's go back to Max at Grand Prix. Everyone knows he wins essentially every race every time he gets in a car. He's won 5 of the 7 races this year. And if you don't like his odds to have the fastest lap, you can totally switch this out and go his odds to be the outright winner. But plus 135 has more value than minus 150. Second leg of the parlay, Larson. Larson, as we know, you can put him in a cardboard box and he's going to make it go. I have no doubt whatsoever, Kim, that Larson will have a top 5 finish at this weekend's Indy 500, which is, as we know, his debut. And then William Byron, who finished second in the 600 last year. Top 3 finishers odds. A $10 bet wins you a total of $158 and some change. Have yourself a day, guys, enjoying the greatest day in motorsports this Sunday.
All right, let's focus solely on the Coca-Cola 600. In your parlay, you circled William Byron when we were talking Coke 600. So as we talk about winning manufactured, should we put our money on Chevrolet?
Winning manufactured this weekend, Chevy all day, or as you would say, Kim, heavy Chevy.
Heavy Chevy, heavy on Chevy.
Heavy on the Chevy. And I know that a lot of people out there are like, oh, if Chevy's going to be the winning manufacturer, then it must be Kyle Larson. But I want to take a pause. As we know, Larson is going to be going from the Indy 500, then flying or helicoptering in to Charlotte to then run the 600. I used to be a server and a bartender. Working a double always sounds really good until the day of the shift. So granted, Larson has handlers and all these people to make sure he's going to be at the top of his game. I don't think that Larson's going to have as good of a run in the 600 as he could if he was just running just the race without coming from the 500. With that being said, William Byron is my outright winner's odds, so plus 1,000 there, but then Chevy to be the winning manufacturer.
All right, great points there. Let's move into group bets.
We have not done a group bet in a while, Kim. So there is one group that I'm looking at, and it has Todd Gilliland in it, Daniel Suarez, both at plus 260. Then it has Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at plus 275, and then it also has Michael McDowell at plus 275. Kim, I'm going Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in this spot all day. I mean, we talk about momentum on this show so much, and you can call it momentum, you can call it him being on level 10, but after what we saw last weekend, I cannot imagine that he's not going to come out guns blazing and win this group, and who knows what else he might do. So Ricky Stenhouse at plus 275. Oh, and I like those odds, and he finished in, 7th in this race last year. So yes. And then as an aside, as we get closer to race weekend, I think that you should make sure you keep your eyes on some drivers' odds to finish in the top 10. And I like Chase Elliott at minus 190, Ty Gibbs at minus 140. I know those are juiced, but because we are being a little bit more, I guess, a little bit riskier with our parlay this week, here's a little spot where you can be safe to definitely win some money.
Okay, well, we can't ignore the beef that we saw between Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Kyle Busch after the All-Star race. You mentioned Ricky in the group bet. I didn't see Kyle anywhere. So can we look for bets? Because I saw Ricky's quotes after the race. He said, I will wreck you at Charlotte. Are there bets out there whether or not we're going to see retaliation?
So you can call me messy, if you will, but A, I'm looking for retaliation. I would love to see another fight. And then B, I'm also looking on the betting boards, across the odds boards to see if there is that. And I have not been able to find any odds that pit Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Kyle Busch against one another. So I'm going to be putting in a couple of calls to some odds makers. Like, do you not know what we just experienced last weekend at the All-Star race? But keep your eyes open because you never know. They might eventually come up closer to the race.
Yeah, as fans look for some of those bets later in the week, especially RSJ versus KB. Don't forget, too, that each week Erica has bonus bets where she is checking the books for you, making sure you know the best bets right before race weekend. Erica, again, great information. We love your insight, and we'll see you next week.
Hey guys, I'm Corey the Joy Driver, the number 7 car, joined my buddy Ryan Flores. Every week we stack some pennies. Talk about NASCAR Cup Series right out of my windshield.
Plus, we'll give out the dogs of the week for the best pit crews and pit crew guys from the weekend. We'll break down all the money stops, all the woes, get into some technical issues, and we'll also answer all of your hashtag Penny for Your Thoughts questions.
And we have a ton of guests. Sometimes SVG pops by. We got Raja. We have all sorts of guys. You never know who's going to pop in the Nonsense Garage, but make sure you tune in. SiriusXM on Tuesdays, YouTube on Wednesdays, wherever you find your podcasts on Wednesdays as well. Come stack pennies with us.
With it being Charlotte Race Week, there is so much to experience if you're a race fan. We mentioned the fan days earlier in the week at some of the race shops, but once you get to the track for the weekend, so many cool things. I've got a couple highlighted. Trackside Live's back. It's going to be in the Fan Zone, 11 a.m. on Sunday, but then the pre-race concert is Matchbox 20.
Oh, there's so many good concerts at Speed Street all week long. hey, my buddy Tim Dunger, Camlin Marlowe, there's a lot of hype around that. I love haulers and hash browns. I love the punny names that they have, and then the pre-race military display is second to none there. I mean, it's one of the coolest things I get to see all year long at any racetrack we go to. And if you're going to Charlotte Motor Speedway, you can check out everything there is to do at charlottemotorspeedway.com.
And if you are headed to Charlotte Motor Speedway, I'm going to remind you to set your fantasy lineup a little bit early because, again, so much happening for the fans, you might forget.
It's decision time, NASCAR fans. Who gets you the points? Who gets you the wins? Who gets you the bragging rights? Who gets you the championship? Sign up and play today at nascar.com/fantasy.
All right, it is time to set your fantasy lineups for the Coca-Cola 600. We are going to start with the guy to stay away from, the black flag.
Yeah, one you won't expect is Ross Chastain in that one team. You know, I look at his 600 finishes, his best finish of 14th, average finish of 21st, but this year he has finished 19th or worse in the last 3.5 mile races. So this Trackhouse driver, I love using him, but I'm putting him on the shelf for this weekend.
Well, for me, I'm sorry, I got to go with the Team Penske driver. Austin Cindric, though. Okay. He is my black flag. Only one top 10 finish all season long. That was at Atlanta. He cannot catch a break. I think we're not going to see a great finish out of him in the Coca-Cola 600, so I would stay far, far away.
Yeah, the Fords are gaining some momentum right now, but they're not quite there yet. I look for the Penske cars to be stronger later in the season as they usually are. But my garage pick, it's the guy, Tyler Reddick, right?
Okay.
I think you can, as I've said before, Tyler Reddick's not like Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski, you never know where he's going to finish. He's never out of it. But Tyler Reddick, you can tell within the first 2 stages what kind of day he's having. And I want him on my lineup, though, because he's finished top 10 in the last 4 Coke 600, and he's led laps in the last 2 Charlotte races. So I think he can be fast, but you'll know early and often where Tyler Reddick's going to finish.
For me, it's going to be Martin Truex Jr. Keep him in your garage because he's won at Charlotte 3 times, including 2 Coca-Cola 600s. However, he has not been to victory lane on a 1.5 mile since 2019, so it's one of those, which MTJs are we going to get? And so keep him, and then before the time to switch him out, if he's having a good race, slide him in your lineup.
There is nobody that has dominated the Coke 600 like he did that one year, but that brings us to our white flag. What do you got for me this week?
All right, so we know that Kyle Larson is doing the double, but that's not the only IndyCar NASCAR crossover this weekend. Connor Daly is running throwback Jeff Gordon gloves and shoes. Have you seen these?
I saw that. Yeah, the old Rainbow Warrior scheme is so cool. I did some research on them because I recently did a feature with Mike Trower, their tire changer, and watching that Rainbow Warrior group, man, it's so awesome. And Connor Daly, he's got NASCAR ties.
Yeah, he does. We in a truck later this year, but I saw him in Indy this past weekend. He was completely fired up about the vibe in Indianapolis. You know, he's an Indy guy. He's actually led in the Indianapolis 500. And then we talked Jeff Gordon, also an Indy guy. He's going to be there to watch Larson. It's the 30th anniversary of his first Brickyard 400 win and the 10th anniversary of his 5th and final Brickyard 400 win, which I was in victory lane for.
Ooh, I am fired up for this weekend. It's so exciting. I've never been so bought into the Indy Charlotte crossover, and once we get through this weekend, we'll be heading the Gateway.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in this week. Next week, we've got everything you need to know before you head to Worldwide Technology Raceway, including some fun stuff for the fans. We talked concerts in Charlotte. Well, concerts at Gateway, Luda is on the docket.
I thought that was Nellyville, but stay here, find out everything we got going on. Join us here at Around the Track.